The Democrats are at it again, accusing Donald Trump of racism because he's calling certain places crap hole countries and, of course, limiting asylum claims to this nation. And what we're going to see today, of course, is Lydia Moynihan calling this out over on CNN. But before we begin, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe on this video so we can get through the algorithms. Here we go.
Why is it we only take people from hole countries, right? Why can't we have some people from Norway, Sweden, just a few? Let us have a few. From Denmark, do you mind sending us a few people? Send us some nice people, do you mind? But we always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster, right? Filthy, dirty, disgusting, ridden with crime. The only thing they're good at is going after ships.
It's okay now in the Republican Party to say, we only want to let white people come into this country. We only want immigrants from European countries. That's okay to say, when it maybe wasn't okay to say 5 years ago.
This is not a race issue. This is a cultural issue. And what we've seen in Somalia...
I didn't make it a race issue. The Trump administration did when they literally, their policy on asylum is that no one comes in except for white South Africans.
It does not... So this year, the only people we let in asylum was people from South Africa. That does not mean that
white people
the Trump
from South
administration
Africa.
is only
not people from South Africa, only the white ones.
Okay, well, I think it's important to have a conversation about America's not a charity. We have the opportunity and the ability to select who we want to come in and who we think is going to contribute economically and culturally. In Minnesota, we've seen 81% of Somalians are on welfare, 35% of Somalia's GDP is remittances, and now they've stolen at least $1 billion, maybe $8 billion. And so there's a question, the Somalian community.
No,
so there's a question of do we want to continue to allow
the
people...
Somalian community did not steal $1.6 billion. The 60 or so people who were convicted or who were charged with those crimes, they are responsible. Why is this collective responsibility thing now suddenly in vogue?
This is an important point to make, and this is something that I think the American people resonate with. Culturally, there are things that we do not want in America. Female genital mutilation happens in Somalia. We don't want that here. So I think it's okay to say, look, there are cultural things that we don't want to bring into America.
Wait, look, there are people who we allow in this country who have multiple wives. They, polygamy,
I don't
totally
want to encourage that. I don't want more of that.
But they're here. They're Americans just like everybody else.
But
I don't
want more of that? That's the question.
I mean, I couldn't afford that if I'm just being I'm just being honest.
Talk about inflation.
Yeah.
When you got to pay
look,
for
what we
wives.
want on our immigration policy, we want to get the best and the brightest, and we do. And immigration is a great, great benefit to the United States. It's a comparative advantage over the rest of the world. But we can be selective in terms of who we take. People want to come in and work. We want people who are going to work and produce, and not people who are going to welfare. That's all.
My only question is, are you going to treat people as a group, or are you going to treat them as individuals? That's the question I'm asking. Are you comfortable with an immigration policy that says that we're going to just say, because you're from a certain part of the world, because you're from South Africa but you're black, you are not allowed in this country because as a group, you are guilty of group sins. You are guilty of group cultural flaws that make you incompatible with this country. I see people making that argument. I'm just curious if that is compatible with America as you know it.
Can I say something about that, Abby? Because immigrants who come from Africa tend to do very well in this country. They do.
Extremely well.
It's a good. So I just want people who are going to come in who want to share our freedoms and contribute to our economy. That's all. They just shouldn't come in and go on welfare. It's that simple.
We need to acknowledge. I think we should absolutely select the best of the best. It should be an individual choice. But I think we can also acknowledge there are certain cultures that are not compatible with America.
Which ones?
Well, if we look at Europe, actually, there was a lawyer this week who argued that an Afghan immigrant who raped a woman shouldn't be charged or shouldn't have a penalty because his culture said that women weren't free and equal. We're seeing 77% of in France are from migrants. So there is a real question that people on the right have about certain cultures.
What are the cultures?
The cultures that are okay with that. The cultures that are okay with female genital mutilation.
So, I mean, is it Afghanistan? Is it Africans? What is it? Like,
well, I would
how
say
are we going to define
90+% of women have female genital mutilation.
How are we going to define culture? What about the people fleeing female genital mutilation? Are you going to allow them in? Are they allowed in?
I mean, if you
are Somali, if you are Somali and you're a woman and you're fleeing, you're actually trying to leave because
the FBI is now arresting people for bringing that with them.
So here we have Lydia Moynihan making some excellent points. If we're going to allow people into this country, we have to make sure they're culturally compatible, okay? But according to the leftists on the panel, or specifically Abby Phillips over here, who's saying, oh, Donald Trump's policy, his official policy now is to only allow in white people, all right? Which is a bunch of garbage, because what's the official policy from Donald Trump? He's now capped refugees at 7,500. And as far as the white people are concerned, he allowed in 59 white people from South Africa. And all of a sudden, that's the official policy. And that makes Donald Trump some type of racist out there. All right. This is completely insane. Under Joe Biden, we had unchecked asylum status granted to pretty much everybody who came into this country, including a sizable Somalian population. But of course, you have Abby Phillips over here saying, oh, are we going to judge the entire group because of 60 people or so being convicted of crimes? Okay, let's talk about those 60 people or so. How did they pull off that scam? Oh, they actually went into the Somali community and said, hey, all you people out there with kids, go ahead and lie and say that your kids are autistic, and we'll pay you $50, $100, $500. And that, of course, bolstered up their rolls that they were allowed to go to the government then and ask for millions upon millions of dollars to fund the programs to help the autistic kids that didn't exist in the first place. So yeah, the entire community was in on it, but only the top people were stealing the billions of dollars. Okay, so yes, culture does matter. And that, of course, is the point that Lydia Moynihan is trying to make. Okay, if you have a group of people coming into this country that actually, justify honor killings, that think that Tamermism is okay, that think it's okay to rape somebody, then those are cultures we don't want in this country. Now, of course, how can you actually figure that out? Well, as a teacher, I've had to sit through many lectures and videos and presentations on diversity, and one of them really stands out to me. Okay, it was about a group of immigrants from Africa who came over into America, okay? And I believe they actually were settled in Minnesota. But regardless, there was a segment of that video where they had to sit down and explain to these people in their native language that, guess what? You cannot force your wife to sleep with you. And they were very surprised. So basically, how can you figure out if people have these extreme views? You simply ask, because to them, they are common. Okay, and having a simple questionnaire, having a background check, having a conversation can go a long way for weeding out people that we don't want in this country because they are not culturally compatible. Because the last thing we want, as Lydia mentions, is people bringing in their crap hole country's culture. Okay, we don't want people who actually endorse genital mutilation, right? Something that is happening in this country. We don't want people who are coming into this country just for the charity they're going to receive. We don't want people coming into this country who are going to rely on taxpayer dollars. And we definitely don't want people coming to this country who will take all of the aid they receive and send it back in remittances to their old country, okay? There are certain cultures we don't want to import, and we see this happening all over Europe. Who are the groups right now that are committing most of the assaults on women? Let's all guess. And as a matter of fact, over in England, there was just a case where the judge let the perpetrator go because the rape did not go on long enough, right? It happened, it was committed, but that's the type of thing we don't want in this country, okay? Just this year also, honor killing attempt in Canada, right? This stuff is ongoing, and we don't want to bring it here. And by the way, I'll just remind Abby Phillips that polygamy is illegal in all 50 states in this country, okay? So don't try to justify it just because it's something about diversity, etc., okay? This is a bunch of garbage. It's okay to be selective. It's okay to want only the best and the brightest to come into this country. And it's also okay to limit the amounts to give people time to assimilate. But what are some of the things we can't assimilate? All of these crazy, backwards, crap hole country beliefs that these people are bringing with them into ours. And after years and years of unchecked immigration, after millions upon millions of people coming into this country illegally, it's okay to cut it off and say no more, because we are not the world's charity, although we are the most charitable country in the world. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me.